Welcome. I hope you're ready to celebrate. Yes, absolutely. I know this is what Lanny would want, and I know this is what his family would like, and I know this is what the band would like, because that's what they did with Lanny his whole life, is celebrate. Celebrate life and music and family and all that is good in life, he did. Welcome to St. John's, and we are certainly glad to have you here to celebrate his life. And I've been told that today is a very special day. Today, Lanny would have been 89 years old. So I want you all to say, "Happy birthday, Lanny." Good, and I know we heard that, absolutely. I'm going to tell you right up front that this is going to be a time of celebration, a time of music, a time of sharing wonderful memories. And I hope that you will join with me and the family to do that. But before we start, I would like to first offer a prayer. So would you pray with me? We thank you, God, that you hear us when we are sad. You see us and you understand our grief. You understand our sorrow. And we are not left alone because you stand with us. We ask that you would bring light out of our darkness and hope out of our sorrow and peace out of our awareness of thee. And as we lean on you today for strength, we know you will provide it. So we ask for that. And we ask that you would help us today to celebrate one that you gave us for 89 years. How thankful we are for your gift. So we pray these things in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, I pray. Amen. We are going to begin our celebration, and Paul Martin and the band are going to be playing wee small hours of the morning, and Kelly Knowlton is going to sing. I'm so glad you're here. I already heard your voice from downstairs. And then they're going to do Killer Joe. And then Brian is going to play for us a CD by Terry Nunn. So enjoy the music.
someone been more unforgettable in every way, and forevermore, that's how you'll stay. That's why, Lanny, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too. Unforgettable in every way, and forevermore, that's how you stay. That's why, Lanny, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
That song was from Lanny's goddaughter, just so you know how precious that is. Just want to share a few statistics about Lanny. This is kind of the nitty-gritty information, but Lanny was born on May the 3rd, 1935. He was born in Willard, Ohio, to Keith and Doris Gooding. He was a longtime resident of Plymouth, Ohio, and he took music classes at Ashland University and Northridge University in California. He was an accomplished jazz musician who was self-employed for many, many years. He played at Bob Burns' Supper Club in Santa Monica, and he also played at Skyway East Restaurant, and we all know where that is, for over 50 years. He was part of many, many local bands of Richland County, and he played for Plymouth Presbyterian Church, and we all know he played for St. John's United Church of Christ. And he is someone we are all going to miss. His family includes his life partner of 25 years and our friend, Linda. He had 3 daughters, Melody and husband Charles, Connie and husband Don, Lana, and a son named Spencer. He had 4 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. Obviously, he was a very busy man. 1 great-great-grandchild, 2 godchildren, and even their daughter, a stepson, and his 2 children. And we are also many dear and close friends that are here today. I would like to invite a few people to come and speak on behalf and tell us a little bit about Lanny from their own words and their own viewpoint. So if Melody is here and Hillary, if you want to come up, and I don't know if it's okay for you to be up here, but I can bring you a mic if you need to be down there. You don't mind? Okay. Hold on the railing. This is the hard part. Yes, it is. Right over there, and bring it right close to your mouth.
Okay. I have a big mouth, though. I don't know how close I need to bring it. Well, I wrote a few things here, so I just did it this morning. It was a hard thing. Let me see if I can find it on this phone. If I cry, it's not because I'm sad. He's 89 years is an amazing length of time. But I do stand here and I speak for our family, and that's me, and I'm from the first wife. I'm the firstborn child, and I'm from the first wife, Fern Crystal. And I also speak for my sister Connie and Lana and my brother Spencer, who were from the second wife, Winnie. And I also speak for all of the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren who can't be here, my children, Connie Sue's children. And we're a real motley crew. We don't all live in the same place. We all have diverse views, and we haven't always all got along. I think everybody's family probably has that situation. But we all have one thing in common, and that's that we all loved Lanny very, very much. And one person I have to thank out of everyone in my family is my sister Lana. The rest of us have come. We came in March, all of us. All of 4 of his children, we all visited in March. His godchildren visited in March. And it was a very poignant few days and weeks. But Lana, she has been there, taking care of his physical needs, his mental needs, his emotional needs, his spiritual needs, not just for the last 8 weeks that he was ill, but for many years before that. And there is no way that we can ever articulate how much that means to all of us. And we thank you very much, Lana. And Linda Bear. Quillipede, as many have heard, you meant so much to him for the last 25 years of his life. He went to California in a car when he was 24 years old with 3 little girls with no air conditioning. I don't know how he could have done that. His new wife, Winnie, and 3 little girls, all under 5. And that was quite a trip. I remember I was the 5-year-old. But they wouldn't listen to me then any more than they listen to me now. Living in LA, running around in that little wonderful little car, Henrietta, you all remember Henrietta. He lived the life in the LA jazz scene. He fit right in, had a great time. He met there Joy, and Joy and him had a wonderful relationship. She opened his mind to so many spiritual experiences that he'd never had before. They remained, lovers for several years, and then friends, close friends, for the rest of her life. Well, eventually he married another woman that we won't talk about. But we all learn from our mistakes, right? She took him, drug him from LA to quiet, coastal, boring Oregon, and it didn't work out very well. So he ended up coming home to Plymouth, Ohio, to help care for his dad, Keith Gooding. But he never did get back that beautiful baby grand piano that woman kept. Well, he's been part of this church, part of so many bands. He's done wedding parties and anniversaries and events and concerts in the park. And for the last 25 years, he's been a big fish in a little pond here. And he has expanded his area and gone into all the different towns around here. He's had the opportunity to use his talents and share it with so many people around here. And I think what you can say is that he's a celebrity extraordinaire here in his home. I want you to know that one of Lanny's best characteristics, and I don't even have to tell you, was his intelligence and his wit. He was always so funny, and he made all of us laugh, and he was goofy and had pet names for everyone. I wish I could remember them all. I always used to, when we would talk on the phone, because we hadn't seen each other for a while before I came up, I would always tell him jokes that I'd seen on the internet. And one of the last ones that I remember was a list of authors that were written in the 60s, only they have revised those songs for more of the baby boomer crowd. Now, I know that if I look around here, most of you people are going to recognize some of these 60s tunes. And we have one called Herman's Hermits. You remember Herman's Hermits, right? Well, the most famous song they had, of course, has been revised. And the new title is Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Walker. And then, of course, there's the one by Ringo that he has changed, and it's called I Get By With a Little Help from Depends. And then, of course, there's the Bee Gees, and it's kind of a sad song, How Can You Mend a Broken Hip? And then there's the Paul Simon song, There's 50 Ways to Lose Your Liver. Well, there's a couple more, but my favorite is the one at the very end, and it's by Willie Nelson, and it's On the Commode Again. I wish I was on the commode again. So believe me, that was one of the last things that I was able to share with Lanny on the phone. And he laughed and laughed. And he always had a good joke, not just for me, but for all of you too, as you know. And I want to thank all of you for letting us share our memories. And I'm doing pretty good getting through this. And we appreciate that you're all here and to honor him. And you know we're all going to miss him very much. But we all know that he's playing right now with his mom and dad up there in that big band in the sky.
Loud noise was probably Lanny. Absolutely, no doubt about it. I would like to invite Ron Otson to come, who was a good friend of Lanny's, and he also was in the celebration choir and a part of that original group that started with Lanny in 2001. So I'm sure you have a lot to say.
The family is always a hard act to follow. There are so many stories that I could tell about Lanny, I actually had to write them all down. So I hope you all have a comfortable seat. I don't need to tell anyone here that Lanny was a great guy. You all know that already. Lanny loved playing music, of which he made a lifelong career of playing the piano. I have a few stories to tell about Lanny, but let's go back to the beginning, when Lanny first became a part of St. John's Church. Reverend Lon McShirley came up with the idea to start an upbeat celebration worship service here at St. John's around the early 2000s. Reverend McShirley recruited Lanny and Paul Martin, over here, to lead the music for the service. A choir was formed from the members of the church, and the service got a kickstart. Lanny's style of playing made it easy to work with musically. He could change the key if it was not quite where it should be, and he could slow down or speed up the song without a problem. That's how we all got to know Lanny. I myself and other members of the celebration choir had the honor and privilege of singing to the music of Lanny on the keyboard for many years. Now I have a few more stories to tell. Lanny always had a good morning for everybody. He always had a little grin that made you think of him right away. Lanny was always willing to take advice, whether good or bad. He had this very special source that he would go to for advice. He called them the little voices in his head. Right or wrong, he swore that they were his go-to group no matter what. Now, in the fall of 2010, the celebration choir was invited to perform at Malabar Farm in the big house during the Christmas open house. The choir sang Christmas music and carols while Lanny played the piano. Now, Lanny looked forward to going to Malabar so he could play the Steinway grand piano that sat in the big house foyer right inside the front door. The choir stood on the winding staircase to sing to the guests that came to tour the house and see the decorations. Here's a picture of Lanny sitting at the Steinway wearing Louis Brownfield's signature hat. Now, this will be over in the parish hall. Everybody can look at it. He loved that piano. The celebration choir sang in Malabar for 10 Christmas seasons, and Lanny looked forward to every one of them so he could play the Steinway. We started an annual tradition that when we finished performing at Malabar, we would stop at Steak and Shake and get a late meal. Lanny couldn't wait to get his favorite hamburger and milkshake. Lanny sure loved his milkshakes. At Christmas time, my wife Rita and I would have the celebration choir over to our home for a gathering during the holidays. We would always have a smorgasbord of food to eat. Rita would make shredded chicken sandwiches, and Lanny would not eat the shredded chicken without bread and butter pickles. In fact, he would bring them with him. At the reception over in the parish hall, we are going to have shredded chicken sliders, and there will be bread and butter pickles. And we'd like you all to at least have a pickle in honor of Lanny. Now, how many of you knew that all root beers are not caffeine-free? Lanny did. He could tell you which ones were and which ones weren't, and he'd only drink the ones that were caffeine-free. Another item that Lanny had a passion for were mashed potatoes. He loved mashed potatoes, especially if they were homemade. Now, Lanny played with many local musical groups, as they said before, the John Kennedy Orchestra, Paul Martin's Jazz Ensemble, and the Rib Ticklers, just to name a few. There were also concerts at Kingwood Center in the summer on Thursday evenings, and Lanny would play the keyboard with some of the groups. Everyone would bring their lawn chairs and a brown bag lunch and be able to munch on it while we're listening to the music. And of course, on Monday evenings, you could find Lanny playing the keyboard at Skyway East Restaurant, entertaining the patrons while they enjoyed their meal. The Celebration Choir even visited Lanny at Skyway a couple times and sang along with him to the patrons. Lanny had recorded a number of CDs over the years with various types of music. Now, the Celebration Choir, along with Lanny, even recorded a CD of our favorite worship music, and the choir sold copies of the CD and donated the proceeds to our church TV ministry. Now, I'm sure that everyone here could tell many more stories about Lanny from over the years. So I would like just to end with, Lanny, rest in peace, and keep tickling those ivories on the piano, keyboard, or whatever you can get your fingers on. We miss you.
So you get to hear another side from another perspective of people that loved him. I also have some writings here that I would like to share with you. And one is a letter that was sent to his family. And it's from Senator Mark Romanchuk. And I understand he was a personal friend of Lanny. He says here, on behalf of the people of the 72nd Senator District of the state of Ohio, Senator Mark Romanchuk is saddened to extend his sincerest condolences for the death of Keith Lanning Gooding. I was deeply saddened to learn of the death of Keith Gooding, and it extend my sincere condolences to his family and friends. Keith Gooding left an indelible impression on the people whose lives he touched, and he will be remembered as a kind and gracious man who contributed immeasurably to the world around him. His concern for improving the quality of life in our society was clearly evident in his personal sacrifices of time and energy to his family, his friends, and his community. And his absence will be keenly felt. A loving partner, Linda Gundrum, a devoted father to his children, Melody, Connie, Lana, and Spencer, a doting grandfather to his grandchildren, Hillary and Haley and Richard and Danielle, 4 great-grandchildren, Daniel, Alexis, Charles, and Gemma, and great-great-grandson Braxton, a loving individual to his 2 godchildren as well, Elliot and Terry, and stepson Todd. Keith Gooding always used his talents to benefit those around him, and the laurels of his life stand as a tribute not only to him, but also to those that are left behind. Although the void his death has created will never be filled, the legacy of care and commitment he established will certainly live on. The world is a richer place for him, having been in it, and he will be sorely missed. Thus, with heartfelt sympathy, I mourn the loss and salute the memory of a truly unique individual, Lanny Gooding. And from his friend, Mark Romanchuk. Amazing. And I understand that oftentimes he would go to Skyway and listen to Lanny play. Yeah. This is a note that was written to you, Linda, and it's from Lanny. And it was found among his belongings. And maybe he meant to send it to you. Maybe he meant to read it to you. But here it is. To my dearest Linda Bear. Now you know that's from him. All I ever needed is to look at your beautiful, sweet face, smiling at me the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, and to feel your warm, loving arms around me. You are my devoted and most unconditional love comes to you now and always. Your bull bear, Lanny. And then I also have something that I know Lana wrote, and I would like to read it to you about her dad. To me, Daddy Pops, and I assume that was your name for him, Daddy Pops. Okay, everybody called him that? Oh my. He was love and laughter, open-hearted, exceptionally kind and generous with his love. No matter what new challenges appeared in life, Daddy Pops was always there to give me his loving support. And when I asked, his gentle guidance as well. The last 30 years I lived in California, we talked every Sunday night at 7:00 p.m. When I moved back to Ohio in autumn of 2019, it then changed to every night. And every morning was a check-in text. We talk about our days and any new absurdities that we felt needed to be the evening spotlight. And I'm sure you addressed many. Such as the neighbor's obsession with the welcoming signs. But their front porch was so full of stuff, no one could get in the door. Then the laughter would begin, each of us adding some kind of commentary. We'd build on each other's laughter until the conversation grew quiet, because we were both laughing so hard that neither of us could make a sound. Listening to us on the phone, I'm absolutely sure Linda thought that we both were nuts. We ended every call with our "I love yous," and he'd close with, "I'll text you in the morning, sweetheart." Daddy Pops, his wonderful, amazing, magnanimous heart and wonderful humor filled my life with enormous love and abundant joy. I know we heard that, Lana. And then another family member wrote, Lanny loved to go to the movies. When he was young, going to the movies was his favorite thing. He loved the whole experience of the theater and what the theater offered. Theaters had, back in those days, live bands, cartoons, serials that would come up, Patriotic news reels would form. Food, and of course, the featured film. Can't imagine going to the movies and having all that. He told me his favorite foods were all the things that you could buy in the movie theater: hot dogs, cola, popcorn, candy, and ice cream. Our mom also loved the movies, so that was where our family outing every Sunday or Monday night would take place. We'd all pile into the station wagon and head for the drive-in. That is where pizza got added to the movie menu. Home movie viewing was good too, and we did that with videos and DVDs and cable and streaming. We did it all. Lanny got his favorite snack and now watched his movies in an easy chair. Can't you picture him doing that? I can. Thank you all for those. I know he heard them. And now we're going to let Paul Martin and his band play I'm Glad There Is You, and a vocal solo called Summer Wind. Thank you. When I was preparing for this service, I met with Lana, and we talked about her dad. And I asked her, what are some 3 or 4 words that come to mind when you think about your father? And she said, well, the first thing I would say is that he always was smiling. And we know that for sure. I mean, I don't ever remember him with a frown. She said, second, he had a very zany and crazy sense of humor. And I'm sure you all have stories you could tell about that one. She said he was also very talented and gifted as a musician, as an artist. And most of all, he was very loving. And we all know that too. As Lanny would often say, life is a circus, and sometimes it's intense. You know, his parents were both musicians. His dad played the bass and his mom played the organ. How could you not grow up to be a musician? But you know, in his younger years and growing up, he actually was raised by his grandmother. And everyone called her Crazy Hazel. Did you all know Grandma? And one thing she always told Lanny was, don't go down near the creek now. Don't go down near the creek. If you go down near the creek, you're going to fall and get hurt, or you're going to fall and drown. Don't go down near that creek. Well, guess where they're going to spread his ashes? Down at the creek. Oh, my gosh. You know, Lanny learned to sing when he was actually 4 years old. I can't imagine that. Sang with his mom and dad, and oftentimes in churches or places they performed at. And by the time he was 12 years old, he already was into the American Federation of Music. Wow. And did you know that Lanny had perfect pitch? He did. Another word to describe Lanny was he was a prankster. And if you grew up with him or knew him as your dad, you knew that to be so. He loved to play tricks on people and do kind of spur-of-the-moment things in his life. In fact, one of the stories that Lana told me was about their cousin, or his cousin, Susie. And obviously, he had a thing about her because she was considered the perfect child. Well, that didn't go over well with Lanny. He decided that there was nobody that could be that perfect, so he decided to tie her to a tree. And that wasn't the only thing. He just spread leaves all around the tree, and she was tied there, and then he set the leaves on fire. I can only imagine the noise that came and the screams that went out in the house trying to put out that fire. And I can only imagine the punishment that followed. We didn't talk about that one. I also learned, and I also knew from watching them, that Linda, you were the love of his life. It may have taken 4 marriages, but when he finally got to you, it stuck. You were the combination that mattered. Yeah. Mattered so much that you spent 25 years together. Wow. That certainly was a gift, not only from him to you, but from you to him. I also remember, and Ron even told us how he started the celebration choir and the band that came to St. John's back in 2001. When Reverend Lon McShirley was here, they started this new kind of worship in our church, hoping that it would draw people from the community that love jazz. Amazing. But you know, when we combined those two services together, the celebration, which was a jazz group, and our traditional service, we combined Mary Louise, who is our professional organist, with Lanny, who was our jazz pianist, and what a mix that was. I will tell you that from watching them, they had a tremendous amount of respect for each other. He would look at Mary Louise and say, "I could never play like that." And Mary Louise looked at Lanny and would say, "I can't play like that either. I can't transpose music like that on the spur of the moment." They loved each other. They respected each other. And they valued each other's talents. And as a result of that, Lanny used to sit over in that front pew over there when we would have our traditional service here in the sanctuary. And after being 10 years over in the parish hall, it had been a while since he had heard the pipe organ. And one time around Thanksgiving, Mary Louise played a particular piece called "Now Thank We All Our God." And I'm going to ask her to play it because this was one of his favorites. Please. Lanny could only wish his pipes were that loud. Amazing. Lanny, I know, spent many years here at St. John's, and we are so ever grateful for the talent that he had that he shared with us. He will be in our hearts for a long time. And I know the celebration choir, they're going to miss him greatly. I would like to say that we all knew, I think the band all knew, that music was his life. Wow. Lanny and I oftentimes, it was interesting, sometimes I would come into the parish hall, and that's where we were the closest, because he would sit right behind me. That was not a good place for Lanny to be. And I would come in with my robe on or whatever I was dressed in that day, and he would say, "Okay, what are you hiding underneath there?" And I would say, "Only my husband knows." We always had this line or this dialogue between us, and it was just amazing. I loved it. And there were times in the middle of my sermon, I would be talking, and he would have some comment, and I knew I was being televised on TV, and I could not turn around and answer him. But there were a few times where I literally had to stop. His words needed to be said. And sometimes it was right on the note of the sermon. And I would turn around and say, "Lanny, you said it well. Let me repeat what you said." It's amazing. He often said to me, "Now, I'll listen to your sermons, but it better be about a good God. Do you understand? A good God. I want no evil God here. No, 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 no. He's not going to torture people, hurt people, or anything. I want a good God." And I love that. I love that. You know, he often reminded me, and one time I used this text and I preached from it. Khalil Gibran, he was the prophet that wrote this text. He was a Lebanese writer, and I think it describes where we are today. "For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from the restless tides? And that it will rise and expand, and it will seek God unencumbered. Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, it is only then that you will begin to truly dance." I remember using that one time, and I remember Lanny saying to me, "I am learning to dance." I'll never forget that, because I realized that to him, life at this point in his existence had become real and meaningful. And I remember saying to him, "You know, the wisdom of life is when we begin to look at death, it is only then that we really learn how to live." And in our celebration today, and in his death, he is teaching us how to live. You know, in John 4:14 it says, "Life is but a vapor. It is here today, and then it is gone tomorrow." But I truly believe that Lanny has taught us to live not only in the vapor, but for tomorrow. Paul, would you come and play the next few songs? Take 5. "It's Not Easy Being Green," vocal solo, and "Joy to the World." And you know what? If Brian would get ready, I'm going to end with a song that I think Lanny would want me to end with. And I know you all know it. The song is I Did It My Way. And here he goes.
And now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of this I'm certain. I've lived a life
A little
that's
louder.
full. I've traveled each and every highway, or much more than this. I've done it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through with tax exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful stop along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've laughed, loved and cried, had my fill, my share of losing. So now, as tears subside, I find it all quite amusing to think I've done all that. And may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I've done it my way. What is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows, then did it my
He certainly did that, didn't he? He did. I would like to invite you to the parish hall, which is next door. If you go down these stairs outside and then go to the next door on your left, there is a reception that is being held there, and family would like to greet you. So please take the time, if you can, to enjoy the food that's there and also give your condolences and hugs to the family. We're going to end as you exit with a song called Lanny Leaps.